Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shaka, and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm really grateful that you're listening, subscribing, commenting, supporting me in my journey to share more about INFJs as much as possible. I'm not an expert, but these are all my experiences from the conversations I have with INFJs and my own experiences as an INFJ, even though a lot of people message me saying, "You're not an INFJ, you're an ENFP." And I think to myself, oh boy, really, here we go again. Either way, so I share all these experiences not as an expert. And so if you find something that doesn't resonate with you, do not worry. That does not mean that you're not an INFJ. It only means that you are not an INFJ that has all of the characteristics that I talk about. Because all INFJs are different, even though we are similar in many ways, we're also different in many ways. And so just be calm. Just stay calm. In this one, I want to speak to you about something that I read recently in a book that really resonated with me, and I really think that this is actually something that a lot of INFJs are going to resonate with, because I've spoken to many INFJs either through email or through the phone or through messages, and I know this is something that comes up for a lot of us, and I know this is something that's going to seem like it's like, oh, of course, yeah, of course INFJs are like that. But I really just want to share it with you, because I think that reiterating certain points over and over again is important, because I feel like a lot of us as INFJs sit there in our families, in our friend circle, or in our colleague circle, and we think to ourselves, I am an alien, I am out of place, I don't understand what I'm doing here, how did I end up here, right? And I was reading this book called Women Who Run with Wolves, and I've spoken about this book before. It's such a good book. I love her. Clarissa Pinkola Estes is the one who wrote this book. And she's brilliant, of course. The book is brilliant. It is my Bible. I read it a lot. I read it consistently just to understand what being a woman is all about, and being a wild woman, a woman who's in touch with her feminine side, who's in touch with her intuitive side, who's in touch with her wild side, That's the kind of woman I want to be. And so one of the things that she mentioned was, a lot of people come to her saying, I feel out of place in my family. How did I end up in this family? Was I adopted? And for sure I'm not adopted, they would say. And I know that this is my family because I look like them, but I feel like I am not like them. And a lot of them say like they feel like they're the ugly duckling in a family full of swans. They feel like, wow, or full of ducks, like they're the swan in the duck family, or the duck in the swan family. They're just completely out of place. And nothing they do, nothing they say, nothing that they can surmise makes them fit in. And I'm sure you can kind of resonate with this as well. And so Clarissa in her book says, this is what I tell my clients. She says, imagine that you were in a little bag being carried by a crane or a heron or some kind of bird that's bringing you from the heavens up to your family. You know how there's like this image that you always have of like a bird carrying, or a stork or something carrying a baby to their family. And so imagine that you are that baby. You are in that little cuddly little like pouch, and the bird has you as a hold on you, and she's carrying you over to your family, right? And so, she's flying, but there's a little bit of thunderstorm, and the weather's not really ideal, and she gets jolted, and by mistake, instead of dropping you over there where your family is, like 3 blocks down, she gets jolted, and she drops you here in this family's house, right here underneath where she was. And so, yes, she's like, all right, cool, this is how it is, this is meant to be, because that's how the universe works. If it works, if it's happening, it's happening, and it's meant to be. And so she let you go into this family, but you were actually meant to be going down that family over there. And that's probably why, she says in the book, you probably felt a little bit more comfortable, actually a lot more comfortable with the family down the street, because, they seem to understand you better, because actually you were meant to be in that family, right? And I mean, this is kind of, I think she says this in the book, I say this not to make you feel like, oh, you know what, the universe made a mistake, but to make you realize that even though the universe made a mistake, you don't need to feel bad about it. You don't need to feel bad about being out of place in your family. It was a mistake. It was the universe's mistake, right? It's not your mistake. You're not at fault for being different. You're not at fault for being out of place. It is not your fault. It is the universe's fault, right? And she says that, whenever she says this story or tells a story to her clients who feel out of place, a lot of them actually feel, okay, they feel a lot of relief. Because what happens as the black sheep of the family, or as the odd one out, or the quirky one, or the one who's always the troublemaker? I always had that label. I'm always a troublemaker. And I'm like, what did I do? I'm just living my life. As that label is attached to you, a lot of us, especially INFJs, have a tendency to blame ourselves. Yeah, I'm not saying that this is a good thing or a bad thing. This is just what we do. In a lot of ways, because we blame ourselves, we improve ourselves. So that works out properly. But in a lot of ways, when we blame ourselves, it's not because we should be blaming ourselves. It's actually someone else's fault. Or it's no one's fault, and there's no one to blame. There's just no need to blame anyone, not even yourself. Unfortunately, what happens, when we feel out of place, and I know I did this a lot, was that I would put the blame entirely upon my shoulders. My 10-year-old shoulders, my 15-year-old shoulders, my 20-year-old shoulders. Whenever I was feeling out of place, and I felt out of place a lot, not to be like, oh, I'm so different, look at me, how cool am I? I was like, if I could just fit in, if I could figure out what I need to do to fit in, I would do it. But I just can't figure it out, right? And so that's the problem. We're like, INFJs are so good, we're so intuitive, we know what's going on, we have tabs on what everything and everyone around us, we know everyone's emotions, we know what's going on. And even despite that, we cannot, fit in, right? And so, of course, our inclination there is to be like, all right, cool. So obviously, I know what's going on. I still can't fit in. It's my fault. I am the one to blame. I'm the one who can't figure things out. It's my fault, right? And of course, what that creates is a lot of shame. It creates a shame spiral where we can't get out of that shame cycle. And we keep on blaming ourselves not only for this and that, but everything around. Our parents divorced. It's my fault. Or, our parents are fighting all the time. My parents fought a lot, and I would always blame myself, always, whereas it was not my fault. Anyone got upset around me is my fault. Anyone was like, hurt around me is my fault. It was just like, we start kind of taking on all the blame and putting ourselves into that shame spiral, that shame storm, where we just can't get out of it. And that's why as adults, we have a hard time loving other people or letting other people love us. We have a hard time not sabotaging all of our projects and being successful in the way that we're meant to be. We have a hard time living our lives to our potential because we don't believe that we're worthy of it. It's a huge problem, and I've spoken about this many times for INFJs, that if you could just get out of that shame spiral, we would do so well in the world because we're just so smart, we're so intuitive, and we're just such great learners. Everything that I've done with my channel, with everything that I've done with my business, all of it I learned on my own. It's just something that we do. We're just sponges. We just soak up information and we use it. We're practical, pragmatic, good people. Not to be blowing our own horn, but that's how it is. Unfortunately, as I said, we just feel out of place, and then we go into these shame spirals and we just blame ourselves for everything. So I wanted to share the story with you, not because perhaps it'll make you feel better, be like, oh well, great, the universe made a mistake and dropped me in the wrong spot. Yes, the universe made a mistake. The universe makes mistakes. Perhaps it was not a mistake where, you're like, oh, well, the universe made a mistake. They should have corrected it. They should have sent me to the right family. But I always think of it this way. Even though my family feels wrong to me somehow, sometimes I look at my parents and they look at me. I'm sure they look at me like, who is this alien creature that has been dropped into our family? Why couldn't we have had a normal daughter? Like, everyone else seems to have a normal daughter who does normal things. But our daughter is out in Bali doing random things. Why does she do this, right? They probably look at me like they're mystified, right? And I understand their mystification because I look at them thinking, wow, like, I don't understand. Like, how did I end up in a family like this, right? Like, why am I not like them, and why are they not like me, right? I'm not saying that all families are very similar, but pretty much, yeah? Like, a lot of, it's very rare that adventurous, risk taker like me comes out of a family that's pretty much homebound and interested in being in one place for the rest of their lives, right? Of course, there's a lot more to the story, but I'm just saying that it's very rare that happens. Artists come from artist families, painters come from painter families, construction workers come from perhaps construction worker families. I don't know. Like, it's pretty much like, like it kind of, it's very rare that a Picasso is going to come out of a family that doesn't care about art at all. It does happen, of course, and I'm not saying that life doesn't surprise us, but it's very rare, right? And so I understand why a lot of you feel like, wow, it's my fault. Hey, the universe made a mistake, it's my fault. The universe made a mistake, yes, but I really think of it that it was actually a mistake that was meant to be. And I've said this to you many times before. All of the things that happen in our lives are happening for a reason. Yeah, even the fact that we were dropped into the wrong family happened for a reason. And now, almost at the age of 40, I can really truly say, look back at my life and say, hey, it happened perfectly. If I hadn't been in this family, if I hadn't had to fight for everything that I wanted, if I didn't have to fight so hard for all of my rights, all of my desires, all of my dreams, would I be appreciating life as much as I do right now? Would I be so filled with gratitude right now as I am right now, right? Would I be just so filled with joy for the life that I lead as I would if I didn't go through that, right? I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't have been, I don't think. I feel, I believe that I don't think that would be the case, right? So I really think that everything happens for a reason. Even if it's a mistake, it was meant to be, right? So yeah, you might be in the wrong family, and yes, you look at them thinking, wow, they're the aliens, you're not the alien, right? And they look at you thinking, hey, she's the alien, we're completely normal. I'm sure that happens all the time, and you look at each other thinking, wow, what is going on here? How did this end up being this way? But it is meant to be. Yeah, perhaps you're supposed to learn a lesson from them. They're supposed to learn a lesson from you. I know I've learned a lot from the steadiness and the security, groundedness of my family, and I know they've learned a lot from my risk-taking, adventurous behavior, right? And I know we've helped each other grow a lot because of it, right? So it really is meant to be. And I just wanted to send you this message because I know a lot of you are in families where you're completely destitute, completely in despair, and feeling like you just want to get out of there. Yeah, I was there too, and I wanted to get out of there too. But I just want to say that there's a reason why you're there for now. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't change your life and move out of your family's house as soon as possible. But you're there for a reason right now. You're supposed to learn something from them. They're supposed to learn something from you. And something's supposed to happen. And then, yes, you will move out and be free, finally, of all the judgment and rejection and criticism. But in this moment in time, if you're there, you're meant to be there, right? Get yourself out of there as soon as possible so you can be around like-minded people who love you for who you are. But in this moment in time, if you're there, just let it be and understand that there's a reason. You're supposed to learn something from it. It was a mistake, but it still is happening right now, so it's meant to be. Maybe this consoles you, maybe it doesn't. I hope it does, because it did console me for sure. Of course, if you have questions about this, or if you want more recommendations on books you can read to get over this or to feel better about the situation that you're in, let me know and I will share all that with you. Also, message me anytime and I'm happy to help in any shape I can, any way I can. And yeah, I hope you can look at me in my late 30s, almost 40, and you can say, okay, I'm only in my 20s and I know I'll get to that spot of peace as she has at some point in my life, hopefully. I hope that's how you can kind of look at this. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being on my channel, and I shall see you the next time around. Bye.